for 2024. Now at 10 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, we're reflecting on the top stories that shaped our community as the year wraps up. A crash this afternoon involving 3 vehicles leaves multiple people hospitalized. And a life sentence is handed down in Refugio County, the long-awaited conclusion to a decades-old mystery.
Cooler weather has settled into the crossroads. How long will it stay? Find out in my full forecast.
And who will end as our 2024 here as our favorite moments here and athletes this year? Find out later here in sports.
You're watching 25 News Now at 10, early edition, and good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker. Shauna Curry is off tonight. A 42-year-old man faces a murder charge in Victoria from 21 years ago. Georgia authorities arrested Romero Dominguez on December 18th. Victoria County deputies took custody of Dominguez Tuesday. They had an arrest warrant. On July 30th, 2003, officers investigated a stabbing. The victim was transported to the hospital from the 1300 block of Sam Houston Drive. The victim later died from his injuries. After the investigation, a warrant for murder was issued for Dominguez. He is in the Victoria County Jail in lieu of $100,000 bond. It's been a big year for us at 25 News Now. We've covered so many important stories here in the Crossroads. Every story means so much to us. But 25 News Now reporter Trent Whiting joins us to present our top stories of 2024.
The winter holiday season always brings about the spirit of reflection. And here at 25 News Now, we're taking a look back at some of the most important stories that we've covered right here at this desk. I'm Trenton Whiting, and I'll give you the top 5 stories of this year, along with some honorable mention. There are several stories deserving of a mention. Victoria celebrated its 200th birthday this year and had an election that saw Dwayne Crocker become the new mayor. In Calhoun County, we saw the loss of County Judge Richard Meyer and learned about his successor, Vern Lissy. More in elections, A.J. Lauterbach earned a spot in state Congress. Now, time for Channel 25's top 5 stories in 2024. Shamrock Products LLC caused a huge story to start the year, spilling about 300 barrels of oil and other material into the Port of Victoria. That's equal to 12.6 thousand gallons. Luckily, there were no risks to nearby communities once it was contained, but it did give off a rancid smell.
Bloomington residents face a big decision in May, whether to incorporate their town or not.
And that decision started off with some split opinions. Talk started including just portions of the community to become the village of Bloomington. Some didn't want to incorporate at all. It took several town hall meetings, but Bloomington decided to include the whole area with a rally cry, "Bloomington is stronger together." Jonathan Smith ran away from police on a motorcycle, just gifted to him from his father. The results were nearly deadly. The 20-year-old entered a medically induced coma after the wreck, and his family members expressed disappointment at the Port Lavaca police for chasing a motorcyclist. PLPD says it could have all been avoided with a simple stop. Hector and his son Angel Jaramillo were missing for over 5 days after what was supposed to be a routine fishing trip. A storm in the area capsized their boat, which was found in the Matagorda Ship Channel. On June 5th, they found the sad conclusion to that trip, along with their bodies, discovered near the old Alcoa plant in Point Comfort. A beachside vigil was held in their honor. From the sea to the air, more catastrophe landed in Victoria on top of a busy road.
A plane crash in Victoria sparks a major investigation as officials work to figure out what went wrong.
What did go wrong was the pilot running out of gas before making it back to the Victoria airport. The plane struck 2 light poles and 2 vehicles on the way down, and several people went to the hospital. The intersection was closed until the wreck was cleared. That's it for Channel 25's top 5 stories of 2024. Tell us yours at our Facebook page, Crossroads Today. For 25 News Now, I'm Trenton Whiting.
Thank you, Trent. And this brings us to our viewer poll tonight. Which story do you think should hold the #1 spot? The plane crash, the Shamrock oil spill, the missing Port Lavaca father and son, the Port Lavaca motorcycle crash, or the Bloomington incorporation? Overwhelmingly, Our voters say 77% say the #1 spot, the most important story in the Crossroads this year, the plane crash which happened 3 years ago tomorrow. We want to hear from you. Visit our website, crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part. And thanks for voting all year long. Another one of the big Crossroads news stories of 2024 happened in Refugio County. Gordon Parsons was sentenced to life in prison in October after he pleaded guilty to murder. The body of Robert Mooney of Zapata was found in Refugio County almost 40 years ago. Parsons pleaded guilty to the murder of Mooney in September. Mooney's body was hidden on a ranch off of FM 774 in Refugio County. Mooney's remains were kept in the custody of Refugio County authorities since his murder. Assistant District Attorney Tim Pointer and Texas Ranger Cody Lankford traveled to Georgetown today to deliver Mooney's ashes to his mother, Helen Marshall, who waited 40 years for this day. Calhoun County ended its burn ban late Monday. It's the 6th county in the Crossroads to end its burn ban in the last week. Victoria, Lavaca, Jackson, and Wharton counties ended their burn bans shortly after Christmas. Matagorda County ended its burn ban Monday. Taking a first look at your forecast, in for First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Pettis, meteorologist Trey Mining joins us with the latest. Trey?
And the last day of the year here in the Crossroads turned out to be an absolutely beautiful day. Nice and cool conditions, high temperature only 76 degrees. We set a record high yesterday on Monday of 87 degrees, nowhere near that, of course, with closer than to normal temperatures coming up for the next several days down the road. And maybe even a little bit of cooler air coming up for next weekend. More on that later on in the full 7-day forecast. In the meantime, no fog in the overnight tonight and cool conditions to last for the next several days. Your full forecast comes up later on.
Thank you, Trey. A crash today around 3:15 left multiple people injured. The crash involved 3 vehicles in the intersection of East North Street and North Laurent. Police say a silver Chevy Malibu driven by 46-year-old Jason Perales with 2 passengers, 48-year-old Michelle Perales and 19-year-old Alan Pettis, was stopped at an intersection on North Laurent. That's when a silver Chrysler 300 driven by Esmeralda Cruces sped down the street and rear-ended the Malibu, pushing both cars into the intersection. While the vehicles were in the intersection, a third car, a Chevy Trailblazer, driven by a juvenile female with 22-year-old Anel Fernandez as a passenger, collided with the wreck. All involved were transported to the hospital for treatment. Victoria County is holding a ceremony for officials who were voted in this year's election season. The elected official oath of office ceremony is Wednesday, New Year's Day at 11 a.m. It's at the Victoria County Courthouse. The county will swear in several elected officials, including 2 commissioners, several constables, and the county sheriff. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Then you can see Crossroads Today on YouTube. And stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, early edition, a Southeast Texas fisherman and his dog survived a tornado while out in a boat. Also ahead, one of the new state laws going into effect on New Year's Day affects property taxes. An East Texas man says it's a miracle he's alive after a terrifying encounter with a tornado. Over the weekend, Brian Johnson, his dog Sam, and a friend were fishing near Winnie, about 60 miles east of Houston. The bass were biting as a storm rolled in, but Johnson did not expect the tornado that hit moments later. The twister flipped Johnson's boat, trapping him in the water with his pants caught and legs pinned. He managed to free himself and found his friend, who located an air pocket under the overturned boat. Rescuers arrived and helped flip the boat back over, allowing all three to make it to safety. Several of the bills the Texas legislature passed in 2023 will become law on New Year's Day. The most talked about new law, state vehicle inspections will no longer be required. Two other new state laws of interest go into effect on Wednesday. 3 sections of the Property Tax Relief Act become law. They will grant additional federal funding to eligible schools if local property tax revenue is not keeping up with expenses due to tax limitations, such as those connected to elderly and disabled homeowners. Another new law involves accessing data.
Overnight lows in the 50s and 40s around the Crossroads region. What about your New Year's holiday? Find out coming up next in the full forecast.
Our military hero of the month is Corporal Abraham Suarez Sr. Mr. Suarez is 98 years old and is one of the few World War II veterans that is still with us. You can learn a lot by sitting on the porch with Mr. Suarez. He can tell you about those good old days that we hear so much about.
Only time that took us to school after I went to school is when it was raining or cold. Otherwise, we had to walk almost 2 miles.
When you meet Mr. Suarez, you'll also hear about his very large family, most of which also served during the war.
Manuel was my older brother in the Navy. Gustavo was next to him in age. He was in the Navy, and Modesto was in the infantry and the paratroopers también. And Epimenio Jr. volunteered when the war ended.
5 of you.
All 5.
All 5 brothers were in the war.
So directly from the farm, Mr. Suarez reported for duty. There he began his tour of the world. He was trained in military ordnance, and that means dealing with bombs and bullets.
Bullet for the fighter planes.
50 cal?
50 caliber. And ammunition 30 for the troops on the ground.
Mr. Suarez found himself on a battleship convoy headed to the South Pacific. The convoy was to supply armaments to all the U.S. military in the Pacific Theater.
Pearl Harbor, they made a convoy of 9 ships. 9 ships. 1,200 troops on each of the ships. 9 troops, because it was supposed to be an invasion in the mainland.
Mr. Suarez remembers loading up aircraft, including the B-52 Mitchell, that became the legendary aircraft in World War II.
Iwo Jima was the last island where the Marines raised the flag. And then from there it had to be an invasion in the mainland of Japan. That's why they were sending so many troops over there. We were 9 ships in a convoy in a V formation.
Imagine a 17-year-old farm boy who was, for weeks, busy loading aircraft and dodging Japanese bombers.
I drove a C2 Wrecker with 2 500 bombs, and drove it under the plane, and a cable came down, and the bomb had an ear, and the cable came down with a hook and hooked up the bomb and took it into the plane. September 1945.
You remember that?
Yes. Everybody was happy, taking off the helmets and throwing them on the ground.
After the war was over, Mr. Suarez stayed on with the Air Force and took new assignments.
I was stationed at Randolph Air Force Base when they asked for the volunteers for Foster Field, Victoria, Texas, and I volunteered. They wanted 10 GIs and a lieutenant and a first sergeant to close the base at Foster Field, Victoria, Texas.
While on weekend leave from Foster Field, he found the reason why he would stay in Victoria for the rest of his life.
So I bought him popcorn and drinks,
Where was the movie house back then?
Uptown Theater in Victoria, Texas, for the Prosperity Bank is now. Josephine Alvarado Suarez.
And you were married for how long?
When she passed away, we were married 61 years and 28 days. The lung doctor asked me, what do you want to do? I said, well, nothing we can do, but just let the good Lord take her. It hurt me to say that, but I said, you have to go. You have to go home.
The Suarez family legacy is quite impressive, with over 17 of the family having served in the armed forces. Abraham Suarez puts up the American flag at his home every day. The Oxford Dictionary defines a patriot as one who loves his country, who supports its freedoms and rights, and who is ready to defend it against enemies or detractors. If you ever wondered what that looks like, well then, you're looking at him. If you know a veteran and you want to tell us their story, go to crossroadstoday.com/military hero. I'm Octavio Perez, 25 News Now.
Good evening, meteorologist Trey Mining here, and happy New Year's Eve. And looking pretty good on the outside. Currently, I have a live view from Victoria College Emerging Technology Complex south of town with dry conditions. No fog in the overnight tonight because of the lack of moisture, thanks to the front that moved through early this morning and pushed all the moisture out in the Gulf of Mexico, leaving us with drier conditions today. 77 degrees was the high, low 55 degrees. Will be lower than that coming up for tomorrow morning, as we'll see that cool, dry air still continuing to filter into the region. Our normal high is 65 and 44, closer to these numbers coming up beginning tomorrow. Record low on this date, 20 back in 1983. I remember that, very cold during that time, of course. And maybe getting cold again toward the end of next week. More on that later on in the full 7-day outlook. And we started the day, of course, with temperatures in the 50s to start off with. Front moved through and caused us to be in the high temperature range, only about 70, 71 degrees by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And we'll see the temperatures continuing to fall as the sun goes down, already has. We'll be in the 50s and 40s likely coming up for your early morning hours on your Wednesday, New Year's Day by 6 a.m., probably 47 degrees or so. Low 40s north of Cuero or so, so definitely on the cool side. Tomorrow's high is only in the 60s as they're continuing to see that moisture suppressed in the Gulf of Mexico and dry air moving in from the north, giving us some cool weather for us to enjoy for the time being to start off the new year. No fog in the morning time, I'm thankful for that. So don't have to worry about that, but still be careful out in the late night, early morning hours tomorrow. Cuero, 50 degrees with sunny skies, a few high clouds from time to time throughout the day. High temperatures only in the 60s all day long. I doubt if it'll get to 70 degrees at all because of the dry air in place. And Port Lavaca throughout the day, partly cloudy skies, the mostly sunny skies. High temperatures well into the 60s or so by the afternoon hours. With northeasterly winds bringing that moisture into the area in the Gulf of Mexico, is pretty much staying there, but northerly winds bringing the dry air in from the north coming up. In Victoria, no fog again tomorrow morning. Thankful for that. With high temperatures in the 60s or so by the afternoon time. Northerly winds with partly cloudy skies throughout the day, but plentiful sunshine to enjoy overall. And let's take a look at the 7-day forecast coming up. Looking like we'll have a nice day for your New Year's Day, starting off the year on the nice side. 64 degrees for the high, mostly sunny skies. No fog again. Take a look at the temperatures still in the 60s for the remainder of the week. Above 70 or so by the afternoon times on Saturday and Sunday. But notice here, models are hinting at a pretty good Arctic outbreak potentially coming up by Monday and Tuesday. We should see lows at or below 32 degrees. I put a 32-degree mark there for your Tuesday morning with the front moving through on your Monday. Not seeing any precipitation with it, but definitely a sign of the winter to come still for our region here, so keep that in mind. But that's far down the road. In the meantime, enjoy the fireworks tonight. They start at 9 o'clock. The temperature at the fireworks time at Riverside Park should be about 54 degrees on the overnight, and looking pretty good there with partly cloudy skies. The rest of the time period with high temperatures well in the 60s and near 70 degrees. With colder conditions coming up on Monday and Tuesday, keep that in mind. Wear a jacket tonight, be a little on the chilly side as you're out and about. Be safe out there and make it a great New Year's. And from me to you, hope you have a great New Year's Eve and a great New Year's Day. Take a look at this right here. This is the QR code. Coming up, get your smartphone, scan the code you see right there. That'll take you to a webpage. You can download our app, News, Weather, and Sports at your fingertips. Very easy, convenient to use, to have on your phone. Be connected with us or anything that's going on in the crossroads. We got you covered right there.
All right, thanks there, Trey. Now, after the break, I'll highlight all of our favorite moments and athletes here from 2024. So don't go anywhere. All right, everyone. Happy early New Year here. We're still about only 3 hours yet away here to the start of 2025. But before we head into the new year, I wanted to look back at some of our favorite moments here in the sports here across the crossroads. And again, just highlight what I also believe was my favorite moment of the year and also who are some of the favorite athletes here from this past 2024. What a crazy year we had here in the Crossroads. We had a lot of firsts with the Ganado Indians winning their first state title there in school history about 2 weeks ago, and the Victoria Generals winning their first ever TCL championship there back in early August.
We have always had great regular seasons, and we were able to put it all together here this year, and testament to all the players, all the fans, host family, sponsors, everyone part of this organization put this together.
With these two big accomplishments, we also highlight multiple athletes here in the Crossroads here who were impact players there for their selected teams. From Victoria East volleyball star Addison Azuna to Tidehaven quarterback Kale Russell, Calhoun volleyball star Neva Rangel, and Ganado quarterback Bryce Ullman, these athletes again provided great entertainment throughout the Crossroads here, making this an exciting 2024 sports year. Now, there were a lot of favorite moments I could have chose from here from 2024, but my favorite moment came from UHV women's soccer player and Victoria native Kylie Spree-Kolash, again breaking the single season goals record there on senior day there for UHV women's soccer. Again, here's a rewind back of how she felt about this moment.
It was great, especially like it being senior day. I think it made it 10 times better. But the fact that Sheila trained me and helped me become the person or the player I am today, I think it really says a lot.
In all, Kylie's historic moment and many other accomplishments capped off a great 2024 sports season here in the Crossroads. Can't wait to see what 2025 brings for all the sports teams in our area. All right, congrats there to everyone that I mentioned there. For, again, our recap here, Fall Again 2024 here with all the best athletes and moments there from 2024. But earlier today, we did have Victoria East men's basketball playing the Sinton Pirates on the road, and they hang on to get the victory there. The final score ended up being 64-63. Victoria East now heads into district play at 15-10. They're going to face the Fort Bend Marshall Buffaloes. That's going to be their first district game on the road at 1:30 p.m. here this Friday. And now, some big news out of the NFL. The Dallas Cowboys, they released running back Ezekiel Elliott there. Again, the Cowboys then brought him back there from the New England Patriots there after, again, it was only there on a one-year deal. So for the Cowboys, they wanted to see how Ezekiel Elliott was going to do this year. Didn't pan out there for the Cowboys. So they're going to be looking there in the market again, see if they can get a solidified running back there going into next season. And again, some other quick news as well. How about Calhoun wide receiver Derek Salinas? He committed to play Division II football at Eastern New Mexico University. Again, he was an all-around player there for the Sand Crabs. And then I just can't wait to see what he does there at the next level, because he's a talented wide receiver. Saw it all year there in my first season covering there, again, high school football here in the Crossroads. And an update here for some fans, again, for that Boise State-Penn State game. Penn State currently is up 24-14 in the fourth quarter right now. Again, the winner of that game will either play Notre Dame or Georgia there in the semifinals there at the Capital One Orange Bowl there. That'll be there held on January 9th. That's going to do it here in sports. Don, back to you.
All right, Max, thank you, and stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, early edition, we'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, you'll hear from the Texans who made Beyonce's white cowboy hat. People are still buzzing over Beyonce's iconic white hat that she wore during her halftime performance during the NFL's Christmas Day game between the Texans and the Ravens. Texans fans will tell you that was the highlight of the game for them. The people who made the hat for Beyonce are Texas natives who now live in Los Angeles. Wow. They started selling their products at local markets in 2018. Beyonce's team reached out to them earlier this year. They say while the hat Beyonce wore during the show is not for sale, the sisters are selling a replica. I'd like to know how much that one is for not for sale.
Couldn't even imagine.
I can imagine at all. Yeah. We have time for one last look at your weather in 2024. Trey?
And one more time before we go, the last outlook of the year coming up, starting over New Year on the nice and cool side, as we see here on New Year's Day. At the Crossroads, 64 degrees, mostly sunny conditions. No fog in the morning time, thankful for that because of the lack of moisture in the air coming up. For the next several days, that'll be the case. 60s for the highs running through Friday, a little bit warmer by the weekend. And the model's hinting at a stronger cold front coming in Monday and Tuesday, with maybe some freezing conditions by then. In the meantime, enjoy the weather and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Trey, and thanks for joining us for 25 News Now at 10, early edition. Join Carolina and Parker Cox, 25 News Now Sunrise starting at 5 a.m. Good night and Happy New Year.